Hi again, everyone.
Wasn't that amazing? Just, yeah.
To remember not to put ourselves after the kids next year.
Not doing that. No. No, I thought it was hard enough following the peelers, but yeah.
So typically, at this point in the program, we would actually invite Lydia as our president and CEO to the stage to give some sort of a state of the network, state of the state type of address. And as we thought about what we were trying to do and what we were hoping to engage you as a network in through our conference theme and focus around equity this year, we kept coming back to the fact that we didn't feel like that made very much sense, because our biggest hope is to start a conversation with you, is not necessarily to show up and say, here's what we think you should do about equity, but to say, this should be at the front of our conversation. And Lydia kindly agreed to just come up and have a conversation with me, which means I'm now going to ask her a bunch of questions that she doesn't know what they are.
Once again, rethinking the wisdom of.
And we'll start. Some of you, we'll start with some easy questions. Some of you may know of the show Inside the Actors Studio. And James Lipton does this thing at the end of the show where he asks whatever famous actor is on his show or actress is on his show these 10 pivot questions. And so this is our little version of the pivot questionnaire. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite word?
Love.
Least favorite word?
Can't.
Mountains, beach, or rainforest, and why?
Beach. Beach, beach, beach. Ocean. Water.
Did you get that?
Do not like cold, wet. Yeah.
What turns you on creatively, emotionally, or spiritually?
When I feel what someone else is feeling, I can't help but take that in and feel like I have to do something with that energy. And sometimes that's happy creativity, and other times it's really challenging to know what to do with someone else's pain.
What turns you off creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Phoniness.
Favorite slang word or phrase?
Those of you who watch the show know that that was a cleaned up question. Oh, fudge. It's as clean as I could get this
answer,
morning,
yeah. Favorite sound or noise?
Oh, the sound of my children calling me, who are now adults, so that never changes. Yeah.
A saying from your childhood that you still use?
My mother's favorite book to read to me was The Little Engine That Could. So I think I can, I think I can, I think I can is deep in the bowels of every part of my body. So I think I can.
Profession other than your own you'd like to try?
I wanted to be a professional football coach. I don't think it's going to happen, but.
I have a lot more questions right now, but I'm going to save that.
I did play football at Cal, in they called it the Powder Puff League, but anyway. Thank you.
If the universe could provide you an answer to one of life's deepest mysteries, what would you ask it?
Why do we have to have as much suffering as we do in the world?
So slightly easier why question.
These were the easy ones?
It was over 2.5, almost 3 years ago that we decided to have equity as the focus of this conference. Why? Why now? Why did we make that decision back then from your perspective?
That sigh was not because it's heavy, but because I am nervous, excited, and eager to make this invitation a public invitation. and that is, we've been, for as long as I've been part of the network, and for most in the room have been here longer, so for the last 7 years, for me, and 20 years if we think about the first school, the idea of the power of the network has resonated as a reason to do the work. And the work has been largely centered on getting good at the model. But there comes a point where you have to think, why and how do we put the power of the network to its best and highest use? So why not take on the most challenging yet most profound problem to solve, and that is the inequities that are present among us in every single context, every community, every school. So it's big, and we come to the network thinking we don't know the answers, because if they were there to be easily found, it would have happened. But I can't think of any better time or any better cause to make the power of the network and the resilience of the model put to use. We talk about great problem-based learning, about making a relevant, can't answer easily question that we task our students to exercise every bit of their brain, their being, to develop learning to work with others, and to be able to produce an authentic product or to help solve a pressing problem. I think we as adults, and all of us who have the privilege of being connected through the model and the network, ought to model for our students that we can do the same thing. And to me, equity, inequity, the opportunity gap is the most pressing problem that we face. And schools, and particularly public schools, are the best situated to be able to make a difference in the lives of children who face those inequities. So I say the cost is too high not to make equity the center of our work.
You also said you're...
Thank you.
You also said you're nervous
I
about
am
moving
nervous.
this from a private conversation to a public conversation. So what's the nervousness?
There's also no more charged topic. And many of us like to avoid difficult conversations. And our work together is largely in a professional capacity. And while we talk about building relationships have to be at the key and the cornerstone, it's why culture is where we say you have to start. And the adult culture has to mirror what we want students to experience. But issues of equity are so personal. And we're so handicapped often in not knowing how to engage around the subject, because we can feel defensive so easily, or because we feel overwhelmed at how little we can do on our own. So it is, I think, it's a difficult subject. So to make it central and present at a time when we're not coming with the answers, but rather asking everyone in the network to join us in caring about this and making it central to the work inside the construct of our model and schools, feels like we're asking everybody to take their level of vulnerability from whatever it is and double or triple it. And that makes me nervous.
When folks head out into sessions, the NTN staff that are facilitating sessions around the topic will use a very specific definition of equity. But how do you, when you say equity, what are you thinking?
I think of equity as, little e, big E, and quadruple E. I think it is, so I have variable definitions. What has changed the most for me, and I'd say this in the last 5 years, because I grew up first as an Army brat, and we lived all over and in many places in my first grade experience was going to a public elementary school outside of Fort Stewart, Georgia, where the white children in the school were the Army children, and the local children were African American. The other difference was we had shoes and they didn't. So it's an early memory for me of differences. And I used to think for a really long time that gender and race were the only ways to tell whether there were equitable or inequitable situations. And increasingly, as I make myself want to look a little more deeply, the opportunity gap has become a better way for me to think about what inequity looks like and shows up. So it isn't as obvious to prejudge based on the color of someone's skin or their gender or their job or their family situation. And so that has awakened in me a very different set of questioning about how do we recognize inequity and how do we recognize it in a way that is then actionable, no matter who we are and whatever the situation, because I hope for myself that I have the courage to act whenever it is I am made aware. I know that I won't be able to because that's superhuman, but I think I carry it with me as the way I want to judge myself.
We have just a couple days together here in St. Louis, and we know from the weight of the topic and your comments, there's a lot more work than can be done in the span of a couple of days. So what's your sort of biggest hope for this?
Thank you for asking about hope. I realize we're talking about what I'm scared about and nervous and how big and awful and awkward. I couldn't be more excited to jump into this. I mean, who is better positioned than those of us in this room and all the schools who are not present but are part of the network? If anybody can take this on and make meaning of it and bring that into what we do on a daily basis, it's us. It's everyone in this room. It is using everything we've learned to this point and pushing ourselves in service of really getting to what I think of as the goal in personalized learning. We're going to talk about making it personal. It's got to deal with those challenges of how do we support every child, no matter what the circumstance is outside of school, in school, so that there are equal opportunities and we can create equitable schools. That excites me. I think, I'm already excited to get up to be part of this organization every day. This just gives me an even greater sense of purpose and passion, and I can't wait to see this time next year, same place, what we come back with. This is a learning together. This is the best way to try to invite ourselves to reimagine what an engaged network looks like and what it does with that energy.
So hope feels like the right note to pause
end on.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
walking out here and letting me ask you a bunch of questions.
Well, our hope was that we could somehow, in this rather artificial setting, share a little bit of what it is to work together, because this is very much how we are with each other. And it is a pleasure to work with you. And I couldn't have felt more interested in terms of not knowing what this was going to be like. So thank you. And I am really excited. By the way, PBL chopped. Really excited to engage both today and tomorrow. It's been a great couple of days, and I can't wait to hear Elena. So the sooner I stop talking, the sooner we get to hear from her, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, that
Thank
means
you, Lydia.
time to go.